Hi, I'm Jennifer with Martingale, here to share with you a trunk show from Quilt Club by authors Mary Ellen Robison and Paula Barnes. You might know them as Red Crinoline Quilts, and I've got a real treat of quilts to show you today. Quilt Club is all about doing a block exchange with friends, or if you want to make any of these quilts by yourself, you can certainly do that as well. But Mary Ellen and Paula share in the book that many of us have done a quilt exchange, and for some of us, we know the good, the bad, and the ugly, but we're ready to have all good. So they share with you tips for how to do a block exchange, how to set it up, what your guidelines could be. And for each of the quilts that I'm going to show you today, in their book, Quilt Club, they have a separate call out that tells you how to set it up as a block exchange, how many participants to have, how many blocks you'll make. They do all of that work for you. And they give you the yardage for how to set that up. If you want to make the quilt by yourself, you don't have a group of friends, or you don't do exchanges, any of these, all the yardage for that to make it individually is included as well. So no math work for you. So let's get started. First up is the 16 patch quilt. And this beauty is a scrappy mix of blues and whites or creams, this lovely red border setting that they've had it on. And they give you some ideas as well for obviously how to finish it exactly like this, but ways that you can make it your own. If you want to do the block exchange and you've got different ideas, they certainly encourage you to use those settings. The book is set up so that the easiest quilts come first to do the block exchange. The 16 patch would be a super easy one that most quilters should be able to complete. From there, the next quilt in the book is called Plaid Barn. And each of these barns is done with a different plaid fabric. And this is where the fun of a block exchange really comes in, because you can make the same block using a plaid fabric and your friends can all be making it in something different, and you can get this very scrappy finished barn quilt and not have to go on the search for all of those fabulous plaid fabrics yourself. The third quilt in the book is called Friendship Star. A rather simple four-pointed star. And Paula and Mary Ellen share a lot of piecing and patchwork tips as well. Because as you know, sometimes with an exchange, I always say that 1/4 inch doesn't mean 1/4 inch to everyone in the same way. So they share some tips for using different piecing methods and specialty methods to make sure everything comes out exactly as it should. And this next quilt, Scrappy Stars, is done, and they share with you how to use their Star Singles papers to make these. And that is a way, I've tried that method myself, and it definitely makes sure that your quilt stars and your points all match and things line up. So if you haven't tried sewing with Star Singles papers before, you might follow their instructions in the book and see that it's exactly what you're looking for if you want all your points to be there. So this is called Scrappy Star. And scrappy quilts are certainly great for an exchange because you can get lots and lots of different fabrics that maybe you don't have. Now I realized I did skip over one quilt that comes before those in the book, and that is this one, and it's called Crayon Box 9 Patch. It has this beautiful triangle border on the outside, sort of a sawtooth border. But what I love about the way they've designed this exchange is you choose your color, and then you make your crayon box patches out of whatever your color is. Maybe you're the blue one in the group, or you're the red one in the group, or the yellow, and then you mix and match and exchange those blocks, and you end up with all the colors needed to make your Crayon Box 9 patch. So that's actually the second quilt in the book. This next pair of quilts that I want to show you, this is called Mosaic, and this one little sawtooth. And you might notice that they use the same size of triangle squares. So if you want to do a triangle square exchange, which is quite popular, and again, there are many ways to make triangle squares to make sure they all come out the same size. These are just two different settings to utilize those, and you can find both of these patterns as well. All right, I'm going to direct your attention back here. This quilt is the Hourglass and double 4-patch quilt. So there are 2 blocks in this quilt that you would be exchanging. One is the Hourglass block that's here, and the other is the double 4-patch. So 2 smaller 4-patches and 1 bigger 4-patch. So that's another fun way if you don't like just making one block and exchanging it, you like more variety. The double 4-patch and hourglass quilt might be a choice for you. There's also a beautiful weather vane block quilt, which is this block here. And one of the things that Paula and Mary Ellen share in their instructions for this one is sometimes an exchange can start with a color palette. You and your friends might have an idea where they went with sort of pinks, creams, browns, reds, the burgundy kind of tones. That was their color palette, and then they went from there to looking for the block that they wanted to make. Tree quilts are another very popular design, and this tree quilt they've set it with this dark blue square in between, and you can imagine you and your friends making these and having all kinds of different trees so that you can have a beautiful assortment in your forest, as it were. And then the last quilt in the book, I have to say, is one of my favorites. It's an original block by Paula that she designed, and it's called Fancy. And I'd never seen this block before, and I absolutely love it. And the key to this that they share in the book is that your darkest navy print, which is the one here or here, when you're doing your exchange, you have to make sure that that dark navy is darker than any other print in your block for the whole group, because when you put it together, that's what makes sort of this Irish chain that appears across the quilt top. So super fun tips, whether you have an exchange group. If you don't have one, maybe you can start one with your local quilt shop. Maybe you have friends online that would be interested in doing it. As I said, in Quilt Club, Paula and Mary Ellen outline everything you need to know about setting up an exchange. And if you're the kind of quilter who just likes to quilt on your own, you can make every single one of these, and all the instructions you need are inside to do it by yourself as well. But I hope you'll find some quilting friends and have the fun of the exchange and get to know more quilters. If you'd like to know more about Quilt Club or all of the books that we make, stop by shopmartingale.com or wherever you buy quilt books.